Metal Up World, this is CJ with CJOrtiz.com and MetzelMotivation.com. This is the first of a new 5-message series I'm doing on World Changers, what we need right now. Now, this is all shown in my Life Domination online coaching program, which you can learn more about if you visit the link below. But all this week, I'm talking about World Changers, what we need right now. Now, this may not sound like what the typical motivational message is going to be. I would say this is more of an admonishment. This is more of a charge. This is more representative of just my personal sentiments about what we need right now. The world is in a very odd place. Now, I guess every generation can say that. Every generation that their time was the worst time. And I don't want to make that error or mistake. But certainly in all of the decades I have lived on this earth, I've never seen anything like the time in which we live. And maybe that's just because we have more access to information than at any time we've ever had before. Maybe if we'd have had the internet back in 1985, then we'd have heard some of the same things that we hear today. Maybe that's just the case. But whatever the reason may be, we certainly have access, and we are hearing from people that just makes us all wonder how much time we've got left. So I can understand oftentimes that people have these apocalyptic scenarios. In other words, that the end of the world is coming soon just because people are running off the rails. But here's the big question that I think we all need to ask ourselves, and that is, what is our fundamental belief about change? So again, that's why I say this is more of my appeal. This is more of kind of where my head and heart are at right now as I look out onto our national and even international landscape. What do I see myself? What I see primarily is one of the biggest problems is what people believe about change. What they believe is the driving force behind change. Because the world is changing for the good or for the bad, right? It's either getting better or it's getting worse. And sometimes they can run simultaneously. As I've often said in other videos, there's lots of good news happening every day. You just don't hear about it because it's not in the interest of the news media to report those things, right? So you don't hear about all the wonderful things going on, for example, just in your 10-mile radius from where you are right now. Probably lots of people with good news. People getting married, people paying off debts, kids coming home with good report cards, people getting a good report from the doctor, relationships being restored, people getting a promotion at work. Lots of good news, man. Lots of good things happening all over the place. You don't hear from it. All you hear is the negative, and so you think everything is really, really bad. However, having said that, there is some stuff that's going bad right now. Bad economically, bad politically, bad culturally, bad socially, bad personally, bad physically. So there are these challenges, but at root, the question that I think we all have to ask ourselves is, where does change come from? Take the last two presidents. You have President Obama, President Trump. President Obama ran on this idea of hope, right? Hope for change. And then you've got President Trump on this Make America Great Again. Well, what do they share in common? It's not just the optimistic message or optimistic promise or optimistic vision. What's the one thing they share in common? Well, it's the idea that government is going to make things better. Okay? The idea that government is going to make things better. Now, nobody questions that. Now, you may disagree with Obama, or you may disagree with a Trump. You may disagree with Democrat or conservative, but I'm not talking about that. Because the one thing that the two sides of the same coin are not questioning is the very fact of where change comes from. Does change come from outside of us? In our environment? Is that what's going to make things better? Is it an institution that is going to make everything better? Is it a politician, a political party that has the power to change things? Can Trump and his administration make America great again? Could Obama and his administration really give us hope? These are campaign promises. But the reality is they all operate under the machinery of the government, which is a massive behemoth bureaucracy, which is always going to be in its own way. Government and laws and policies and politicians and judges and celebrities and athletes and the like cannot make anything great again. They cannot give any sort of real hope that you can have confidence in yourself. So in other words, if you're going to run your life based on your ingenuity and your wit and your wisdom. Don't run it on campaign promises. Don't say, okay, things are going to be better now, and just hope that a new administration or political party is going to bring in laws and policies that are going to make everything better for you, that you won't have to do much of anything. Just wait until the Democrats take over later this year, or wait until this guy's out of office, and then everything's going to be better. No, change does not come from without. Change comes from right here. And so what we're losing then, which is really causing what I believe to be the chaos of the world in which we see, is really has more to do with our character. It has more to do with our character. It has to do with our changing, evolving beliefs. And so when we abdicate and when we get rid of certain traditions, it will cost us. When we embrace new ideologies, they could cost us. We are not all experts. We are not all philosophers. And philosophers even aren't right necessarily. We've had dozens and dozens of those throughout the centuries, and they have all had their positions about certain things, and it did not turn out that way. So, again, where does change come from? Because what I'm saying is what we need is change in the world, certainly. Okay, we all agree we want change. We all agree that we want things to be better for all. Now, we might not all have the same idea as to how that gets done, how that gets accomplished. For example, we all might agree that the poor need to be taken care of, right? The homeless need to be taken care of. But what do people fight about? Well, they fight about how it gets done, right? You got a conservative who says things need to be done in the private sector and voluntary charity and these sorts of things, whereas someone who's more leftist or statist would say, no, it has to be done by taxation. It has to be done by the government. That's the only way we can ensure that it's going to get done. So you have two different approaches to how something gets done, but I think everybody agrees that it has to get done. Same thing when it comes to change. I think we all agree we need change. We may not agree on all the things that need to be changed, but I think we all have the general idea that we want well-being for others. So where does change come from? Is it going to come from a policy? Is it going to come from laws? Is it going to come from government? Is it going to come from the outside, your environment? See, to me, this is the ultimate environmentalism, not tree hugging, but the idea that by changing environment, changing things outside of you, you are going to change you are going to change your life, you're going to change this world. Now, I'm not saying these things don't help. They can hurt or they can help. It's certainly what we change within will manifest itself, obviously, in whatever we see around us. Isn't that what culture is, right? We live in the American or the European or whatever culture, Western culture. Well, what is culture? Well, culture is what is cultivated, what comes out of the ground, right? When you study things like that, it's called agriculture, right? Culture, to cultivate, to bring something out of the ground. So what's coming out of the ground that we see online every day, on TV every day, that we hear about every day? Are we happy with it? Are we happy with the way everybody's behaving and believing and ranting and raving and hating and being mean to each other online? Are we happy with what we're seeing in terms of the perversion? Are we happy with everything? Well, it's coming out of the ground, man. And we are that ground, okay? Things are not bad because we have the right or wrong laws. Things are bad because we're not producing the kind of fruit we should. So it comes out of the culture. So it comes out of us. Now, we might still be basically good people, but we're just not maybe taking our place to really be the example. And that's one thing that, yes, social media has brought the world to our doorsteps, and man, it can be a beautiful world. It can be. I've seen some great things on social media, and I've seen some terrible things on social media. But one thing it has done is it given us the ability to live out our lives with each other, to communicate with each other, to help produce change. And there's been some great things that have happened, and I think there's going to be a whole lot more awesome things. in years to come. But I think we all have a potential part to play, not on the grand scheme of the entire world. I'm not talking about that. In your world, man, you making a difference in your world, even if it's just, man, you and your little, your boyfriend or girlfriend, your little family, or being in the workplace or whatever it is, man, you can make a difference. And we need that right now. And so the kind of world changers I'm advocating, obviously from the Metal Motivation perspective, is going to be, people that are just motivated, that help other people get out of their negativity and start to make changes and, man, live that fulfilled life and be participants, man, in making the world a better place. We can do a whole lot more than any politician or any law could ever do. You and I can make that kind of impact. So that's what I'm talking about all this week. So again, not your typical kind of motivational thing that I normally do. Has a little more to do with the larger issue here. So it's more of an admonishment from me. So if you'd like to see the rest of these videos, I always show them and only show them in my Life Domination online coaching program, which I would love to have you join. You can learn more about how easy and inexpensive it is at the link below, metalmotivation.com/Life Domination Coaching. Also, if you'd like to help out what I do, one great way to do that, man, is buy some Metal Motivation gear. You can wear your attitude. Get some of it here. The University of Badassery t-shirt. This is the metal hat. I've got lots of hats and shirts and all kinds of things. Go to metalmotivationstore.com. and you can help out my metal mission. Can you dig it? Hope you can. This is CJ, the Metal Motivator. And remember, in whatever you do, don't suck metal up.